You know, when I begin these, I usually say that my name is David Cobb. I am a proud, patriotic, and these days, I am a pissed off American citizen. You can applaud that too. Because frankly, I think it's about time that we on the progressive left actually got in touch with our righteous indignation. I, for one, am sick and tired of having it be only the right wing and only the Tea Party that gets to be angry. Well, I'm angry too. I really am angry. I am angry, and I'll tell you, I'm angry at a lot of things. I'm angry that this is a racist country. I'm angry that this is a sexist country. I'm angry that our government and our environmental regulators are in bed with the polluters, and they are legalizing and allowing the toxic poisons to spew into our air and into our water. I'm angry about that. But even deeper, at an almost spiritual level, I recognize that where my anger is coming from is that I can remember what it was like when I was just a proud and patriotic American. That's when I was a little boy. Because when I was a little boy, I remember being taught that I was from the land of the free and the home of the brave. And that my country was a country of liberty and justice and democracy. And I was so proud to be from that country. Because even though I, of course, didn't understand all of the implications of that as a child, at the root of it, what I knew was this: my country was fair. My country was good. And then I was told not only was my country fair and good, but my country was going to be the great shining light on the hill. And it would ensure and guarantee liberty and justice and equality for the entire world. Man, I was proud. How could you not be? And when I grew up, I realized I had been lied to. And the thing is, what I realize now is it wasn't the kind of deceitful lie. It was something more insidious, because my 5th grade teacher, Mrs. Armstrong, and I remember her very well, she didn't stay up late at night saying, "Blah, I can't wait till those children come into school tomorrow because I'll fill their minds full of lies and propaganda." No, Mrs. Armstrong, I'm sure, was the sweet and loving woman that I remember her to be. I mean, she was an elementary school teacher, right? The thing is, she believed what she was saying. And I believed what she was saying. And if you went to public school in this country, you probably believed it too. And do you know why I believed it, why you believed it, why most of us believed it? Because we want to believe it. That's how creation myths work. We want to believe something. Somebody doesn't believe it. Well, there's be a time for you to express yourself, sir. But most of us, I think, actually believe that because we want to believe it. That's how creation myths work. And I'll submit this to you, that we want to believe it, not because we're Americans, but because we're human beings. In other words, all human beings want to live in liberty and justice and equality. And that includes Rwandan children, and Chilean children, and Finnish children. Children all across the world want that as a core human right. And the reality is that we don't have that kind of society, not in this country or literally anywhere on the face of the earth. And there's a reason for that, and that is because today transnational corporations are not merely exercising power. Let's just tell the truth, shall we? Corporations are ruling us. Corporations are making the fundamental public policy decisions that affect our lives. Every single one of the institutions that we're integrated in and operating under, scratch the surface and you'll see unelected and unaccountable corporate CEOs behind the scenes making those decisions. Pop quiz, how many people here are eating genetically mutated organisms? GMOs. You know, all right. See, you notice the entire back row of the organizers, like they didn't, every hand went up in a heartbeat because they know what most of you know, because most of your hands went up too. We're all eating it. We can't help it. Why? Because it's in our public food supply. Right? So here's a question. How many of you participated in that very public decision about allowing GMOs in our public food supply? That's a trick question, right? Because the reality is, there were no public opportunities for us to participate. Who decided to put GMOs into our public food supply? Monsanto Corporation. Archer Daniels Midland Corporation, Pioneer Hybrid Corporation. Unelected and unaccountable corporate CEOs made a public decision, but they made it behind closed doors, claiming it's a private decision. And so we, the people, were not allowed to participate in making it. We didn't even know it was being made until after the fact. And frankly, corporate CEOs are making the fundamental public policy decisions that will dictate to us what access to health care we will or evermore will not get. They're making the decisions of what transportation choices we'll have available to us. They're making the decisions on how much pollution will be in the air that we breathe. And by the way, isn't it interesting that depending upon the color of your skin or your income level, there seems to be a direct correlation about how much pollution you're expected and required to breathe on a day-to-day basis. Right? I mean, literally, corporate CEOs are making these decisions. So what happened? Isn't this a democracy? You know, and people use the word democracy all the time, so let's just stop for a moment. The word democracy, does anybody know what language that comes from?
Greek.
Greek. What does it mean? Let's break it down. Demos.
People.
The people. Kratia? It means rule or power. Power. The people have the power, or the people rule. Now, does anybody really believe that you actually are ruling yourselves? Are we, the people, actually ruling the United States of America today? No. And that's what I mean. Corporations aren't just exercising power, they're ruling us. And so, if it's true, if I'm right about that, if corporations are ruling us, then it also behooves us, well, let's just talk a little bit about corporations. What word, what language does it come from? Latin. And so what does corporation mean in Latin? Body. Corpus or corporation means the state of having a body. And here, how many lawyers in the crowd are that you're willing to admit you're a lawyer? There's one. Hey, boy, you raise your hand proudly.
Yes.
Good for you.
Who defends freedom?
Well done. Well, I would say people. But we'll talk about that. I'm also, I'm an ambiguously proud lawyer. I'm both proud of and ashamed of my profession at the same time. Maybe you can, we'll talk about that in a bit. But, do you remember in law school, we were taught that a corporation is actually a legal fiction? Right? Do you remember that from back in the day? The reason that we're taught that is because they say, well, corporations don't really exist, but we're going to pretend like they do so that we can deal with them under law, and then so they can do certain things. And why is this the case? Because during the Roman Republic, the first corporations were created. And by the way, it was the Roman Republic, not the Roman Empire. And I really wish we had time to really investigate and talk about and think about what happens when a country moves from being a republic to an empire. That would be a very important conversation for this country today, I think. Yeah. Right? But the Roman Republic was the first time that corporations were created, and here's how it worked. They said, well, we want to build this aqueduct system, the amazing system that moved water all over the Italian peninsula. By the way, without any electricity. We primates are very clever. And this is another thing, just a quick little rabbit trail. We can solve every single one of the problems that faces us today. That's the good news. Literally, there are solutions to every single problem that faces us. Now, those solutions are not implemented because of the reasons that Yuri talked about, why we actually don't have a functioning democracy. And the folks here at Flyer actually have a very comprehensive plan to actually make electoral democracy work. And I really want to encourage you to please visit there. Actually visit all of those tables for sure, but please pick up one of these brochures for Flyer, because I heartily endorse every single one of the electoral reform efforts that cut across party lines